Alright, what is up guys? KiddCalin back with another video, and today we have a new build because it's a new season. It's time to update our Sunbracers build. I'm joking, we're not really gonna do that. But today we are going to be doing a build for the Warlock, which is going to be focused around basically creating the Warlock into a White Mage from Final Fantasy VII. If you've never played Final Fantasy, then you probably did. Why did I say Final Fantasy VII? Anyways, well, yeah, we're going to be making our Warlocks into a White Mage from the Final Fantasy series. Now, what does this mean? It means two things. We're going to be focusing on healing, and we're also going to be focusing on buffing and debuffing our team at all times. Now, you may be thinking, this is what Warlocks do anyways. Well, that's why this build was so easy to make, but I wanted to make a build centered around the new boots called Boots of the Assembler, which give you the perk Blessing of Order, which gives you the ability to create Noble Seekers while you're standing in your rift that seek out your allies. And we're going to be pairing this with Ticcu's Divination, which comes with Sacred Flame. We all know what this bow does. It prints warmind cells, which is what we're going to be utilizing with this build. But in case you don't know what this bow does, hip firing tracks the targets, marking them with the Sacred Flame debuff, I guess, and then hitting them with the aim down sight shot will explode that debuff and also explode other targets marked with Sacred Flame that are near that target. The Catalyst does let you gain stacks of causality arrows, which gives you increased damage on this bow, so it's pretty much like the best bow that you can use right now. I mean, honestly, I guess the Monarch would be another good bow. I'm not sure. I've never used the Monarch. I don't have the Monarch, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about Ticcu's. So we're going to be pairing Ticcu's with Boots of the Assembler, and you're probably wondering where the synergy with these two weapons comes in, right? Well, there's not really synergy between the two weapons directly, but we are going to be utilizing Ticcu's ability to create lots of warmind cells to basically enhance our healing and debuff abilities. So for the mods on this build, alright, so the first mod for this build is basically going to be the ink to our Ticcu's Divination, Wrath of Rasputin. This allows Solar Splash damage final blows to create warmind cells, which we're going to be creating a whole bunch with Ticcu's, but we are also going to be using a Hung Jury. Now, Hung Jury can roll with a very cool perk called Firefly, which creates splash damage of the solar variety from precision kills. It's basically like Dragonfly, but like stronger. Another reason I'm using Hung Jury is because even though you can pop your warmind cells with Ticcu's, I just find it easier to shoot warmind cells with the scout rifle. If you have another weapon that you want to use in your primary slot, feel free to use so. You know, just feel free to use whatever in the primary slot. The primary slot's really just like supplementary to this build. You can really do whatever in that slot. That's just my personal preference because Firefly helps create warmind cells as well, which kind of helps the build move along. Alright, next up for mods, we're going to be using the Power of Rasputin mod, which gives you extra weapon damage when your enemies are near warmind cells that you create. Now, obviously, you don't want to break all your warmind cells if you're using something like this, but the fact that you're making so many, there's bound to be one that's just kind of set off in a corner and it's activating anyways. So you may not realize it's there until you actually look at the enemy and realize that there's an orange glow around it, but yeah, pretty easy. Let it sit there, do what it does, it'll weaken the opponent for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The other mod that's taking advantage of this, you leaving warmind cells out, is also Warmind's Protection. This allows you to take less damage from enemies that are standing near warmind cells. So basically, you're getting extra weapon damage, you're getting less damage taken, and all you have to do is just make a warmind cell and let it sit. Now, you also have the option of hitting it a few times to just put damage on it because of the next mod that we're using, which is Cellular Suppression. Cellular Suppression, when you damage a warmind cell, not destroy, but damage, it sends out a void suppression blast, which suppresses enemies near it. Now, it also decreases the damage that you do to warmind cells. which allows you to get about 2 pulses of void suppression out of 1 warmind cell. Alright, so for this last mod slot, you have 2 choices. If you want to extend the range of your warmind cell effects, you can use global reach. This extends the range. I'm not sure by how much, but it's a lot. Like, if you're in a raid room, 1 warmind cell covers a pretty large area of the room. Now, you're gonna be making a lot of warmind cells, so maybe you don't want range, you want duration, right? For that, you're gonna wanna use warmind longevity. As you can probably guess, warmind's longevity extends the duration for which warmind cells sit on the field, which means you don't have to worry about them despawning, because they do despawn after a bit. But if you have warmind longevity, they last for quite a while with that mod. Alright, so we're going to be using a couple of mods to synergize a little bit more with our subclass as well. Now, the first of which is bolstering detonation. Causing damage with your grenade grants class ability energy, which I'll explain in just a moment. Alright, so our second mod that we're going to be using on our class item is 2 bomber mods. This gives us back grenade energy when we use our class ability. Now you can probably see where the synergy between those 2 mods are, giving us back our class as well as grenade ability energy, but how is this going to work with the Stasis Club class? If you're new to this subclass, you're probably thinking you don't really do a lot of damage with the Stasis grenades. They're mostly there for freezing or slowing, but the Warlock gets a really cool aspect that allows you to convert your grenade into a turret, kind of like the Arc Soul, but instead of getting kills, it just freezes enemies, which is going to be extremely useful when I go over the subclass aspects and fragments for this build. But for now, just know using that grenade turret procs our bolstering detonation mod, which in turn helps us proc our bomber mod. But now to get into the subclass explanation for this build. Alright, so for the subclass on this, we're going to be using Stasis because what other subclass is there at this point? I cannot wait for them to give light subclasses the aspect fragment system. Alright, but all jokes aside, we are going to be on the Shadebinder Warlock subclass, taking advantage of Glacial Harvest, which creates stasis shards when we freeze targets. Higher tier combatants create more shards, and Bleak Watcher, which is the grenade that I explained to you guys earlier, allowing you to hold down your grenade button to convert your grenade into a stasis turret that slows and freezes targets. Now, if you want, instead of that, you can use Ice Flare Bolts. I personally would go with the turret because the Flare Bolts do go on a cooldown if you get too many Ice Flare Bolts within a certain amount of time. Now for our fragments, we are going to be taking advantage of Whisper of Torment, which gives us grenade energy when we take damage from targets. Whisper of Conduction, which basically makes our shards that we create track to us when we're nearby, as well as Whisper of Rhyme, which fills up our overshield meter for 10 seconds as we collect our stasis shards, and Whisper of Chains, which gives us damage reduction when standing near frozen or friendly stasis crystals. And that's it. That's pretty much the entire build. Our subclass is gonna basically be what keeps us alive, while our mods and armor are gonna be what helps us keep our team alive. Now, your team can also take advantage of some of the fragments and aspects, because shards spawn for everyone. So if they're also running Whisper of Rhyme, they also get an overshield. And I think on powerful enemies, you make about 3 or 4 stasis shards, which is about half of your overshield meter. So it's pretty potent for now. I don't know. In the future, that may or may not be nerfed. Don't quote me on that. I have no idea. But yeah, this was actually really fun to make, though. Not gonna lie. See, that was one bit of our stasis shard overshield or whatever, and it stays for 10 seconds. So yeah, it's pretty potent for an overshield, honestly. Also, each time you pick up a shard, you do gain that 10 seconds back. So like it resets the timer, making it so that like you can keep the overshield for quite a while. Not really useful for you when you're standing in your rift, but if you're freezing enemies, getting that overshield you're taking reduced damage, you're not gonna die. It'd be really hard for you to die if you are using the build properly, I guess. But yeah, other than that, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.